Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the mechanics section of the suggestions passed to developers for good old July 2024. This is the first video in the series we'll be doing on the passed to developers, and we'll be looking at everything across the board. Should be pretty fun, and looking forward to getting into all of the sections. The mechanics section is usually my favorite, and it hasn't ever really disappointed. This time, it's basically the same. There's some cool ideas, so let's have a look. The first idea is adding carriers to air maps that don't have them. Pretty much as simple as that. Map changes have been on the table recently. While mostly contained to ground maps, there are some air maps which could use a bit of love. The addition of carriers to maps with large bodies of ocean would be extremely nice for various naval aircraft across the trees and also BRs, from everything from the Fairey Swordfish to the Skyhawk to even, of course, the F-14. Maps such as Kuban, City, Spain, Tunisia, and also Bourbon Islands are what immediately come to mind, and it seems a shame to let the fancy new carrier models be relegated to only a few maps and also the test drive. So there are two ways that they could implement these. Option A is carriers will be placed further forwards, trading the safety of strong airfield AA for quicker time away from the flight. Or B, carriers are roughly in line with airfields, offering similarly strong AA protection and similar time away from battle. This would most likely be for the LARP of being a naval aircraft. Both of the ideas would be nice, but also the other part, which is quite important, is there is even an achievement that has been there since the start of the game to sink 5 carriers. And a lot of people haven't been able to do that because it's so often you don't see carriers anymore. For the P-38, we have the Yippee decal, specifically for the P-38J20LO. Now, the 44-23296 was the 5,000th P-38 Lightning produced. To commemorate this milestone, the aircraft was painted bright vermilion red with Yippee written in white on the nose and in massive letters on the underside of the wings. The aircraft was used briefly for publicity photos before being sent to the 431st Fighter Squadron of the 475th Fighter Group in the Pacific Theater, where unfortunately it lost its red in favor of the standard livery. Little is known about the aircraft's service life except that it was damaged while taxiing on the 29th of January 1945 and then subsequently removed from combat duties. But I do like the idea of having a bright red camouflage with just Yippee written all over it. We also have a suggestion for the ballistics calculator for self-propelled guns. Currently in game, we have a wide variety of self-propelled howitzers, each having their own pros and cons. However, they are primarily used in a direct fire role, something they were not designed to do. This is where a ballistics calculator would come into play. There are many ways to implement this mechanic in order to maintain balance and effectiveness in the matchmaker, allowing it to be adjusted and tweaked if it is underperforming or even overperforming. The way a mechanic like this would work is simple. The player can use their map to place an artillery marker in a similar way to the attention to the map mechanic. Then the system will begin range finding and calculating the elevation and azimuth required in order to hit the target. Depending on the installed modifications as well as the characteristics of the vehicle, the targeting circle will become larger or smaller, showing the area where your shells will impact in the current state of your vehicle, if aimed perfectly on the calculated trajectory. This mechanic would give SBHs a purpose in battle, instead of just being used as meme vehicles with low effectiveness, but also allowing for more team play, and giving a team the ability to fight back against a powerful enemy that is camping in a spot that makes them very difficult to counter. Regarding balancing, the main factor would be your reload speed, round flight time, which will force players to pick stationary targets, as well as your accuracy, since you need to get a direct hit to kill most vehicles in the game, with some open-topped ones giving you a very small margin of error. There is also a individual who is very annoyed at the D520. Basically, the D520 is one of those vehicles that's really old in the game. There is actually one in the French tech tree, but if you didn't know, the D520 was actually a vehicle that turned up in the British tree beforehand. The D520 Premium, but also the D521, which is an old vehicle, which I don't even know where it came from. I can't even remember. The D520, though, is really old, and that means that its 3D model is also really old. It's basically from 2013. If you have a look at the cockpit, the screws are square, the buttons are hexagons, the compass doesn't work, so there's a bunch of problems with it. And basically what this user is asking for is pretty simple. A model rework to make it look nice, just like how they've updated stuff like the B-17s, the Spitfires, the Ju-87s. Why not give a little bit of love to the D520 as well, since it is in such an old state? There are many vehicles that have been updated over time, and since the game has graphically been improved so much over the years, when you have blemishes with stuff like the D520, it is incredibly obvious when they exist. So hopefully at some point they can fix them up and get them all sorted. There is also an idea to use unlocked loading screens in-game as profile backgrounds on the forum. If you don't know, on the forum they changed profile pictures maybe a year or two ago now, where they combine the in-game profile with the forum profile. So whatever profile pic you have in-game, you also have on the forum. Before, you could put whatever you wanted, but now it is linked. The idea of this suggestion is to make it so the background from the game that you've unlocked, so the loading screens basically, you could use as a background for your profile, and therefore it could be quite nice. The actual images themselves would fit pretty good, and generally it would give people a bit of uniqueness and variety, and also kind of show off what they've done over the years, which I think in general would be really nice. Overall, a pretty lovely suggestion. Most of these suggestions are pretty good, apart from one which, let's just say, not really interested in getting annihilated by not seeing enemies, but c'est la vie. That's how a lot of people want it, I suppose. Anyway, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.